Hi guys, this is Tommy Cooksey from SIMBA Chain. Today what I want to do is I want to show you around our new badges and certification integration. What this does is this allows your standard digital badge that's blockchain, going to be immutable on a blockchain, and it uses BlockCerts version 2 compatibility to be able to verify and validate that you have a particular level of certification or you've reached a certain level of compliance or a certain level of knowledge in order to receive a particular certification or a badge. And then that badge could be verified on the blockchain. And so SIMBA Chain's made this easy for us to do. What we're going to do is we're going to look first, what would it look like if I just wanted to verify a blockchain certification? So we're going to go in here and we're going to take a look at one that's been already set up for us. And we're going to go ahead and just go into the particular project and go to a particular an endpoint that has a certification that's associated with that particular project, and we can then verify a certification. And so here we can see that there's been a certificate issued to Andrew Harrison at dr.zob@gmail.com. The issuer was SIMBA Chain Incorporated, signed by Laura Croft, and it was issued back in September. And so then we can see kind of the logo. We can see that it goes out and verifies all of the blockchain authenticity information, the validation information to ensure that this meets that BlockCerts level 2 validation. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and see how we can go ahead and mock up and wireframe and use this tooling that SIMBA Chain has for us in order for us to be able to build out that certification. So let's go ahead and log in. And once I get logged in, one of the first things that we have to do is we have to create what's called the anchor. And we're going to go ahead and just take a look at the anchor that I've already created. We'll walk through all of the various different objects that need to be created. But the anchor is going to define the blockchain that the certificate is going to be anchored to. So for a BlockCerts version 2, it's going to have certain fields that will be required in order to have that anchor set up. So let's go ahead and again, let's see here. Let's get logged in. Not sure here. Let's go ahead and do that. And so now we've gotten logged in. And sorry about that, but let's go ahead and let my screen refresh here. And so we've gotten logged in here, and so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to navigate to my anchors. And that's going to be the first place that we're going to go. Now, notice that I've already created a couple of anchors. I've created one, well, they're both to Ethereum, but when we create the anchor, the things that we have to define is we have to define what we're going to call the name for the blockchain that we're going to be anchoring to, which is the name here. Then we have a signature field, which is identify the location, identifier for locating the certificate hash. So for BlockCerts version 2, we're going to use ETH data here. That's going to be the ETH data, and then the account 2 is going to be the for BlockCerts version 2. This is the transaction containing the certificate hash, and so we'll go ahead and put all that information in and define it, and then that will of course create our anchors to those individual blockchains. And then what we'll do is we'll then be able to go ahead inside of our organization, go in and create an issuer, and then a project that the issuer is going to be working on, and then signers that can sign certificates, and then the recipients of those certificates, and then lastly we'll actually see those certificates that we've generated. So before we can do all of that, since we're going to be dealing with a digital certificate, and a lot of times those things have images associated with them, we're going to need to pre-stage some of those images. So we have this little images section that allows us to upload our images. And so the image we're going to work on today is we're going to kind of think back to creating an image about a good idea as a new country, for instance, like John Hancock and the folks that created the United States. So liberty and justice, right? And so here we the people, and that's the little Punisher symbol, we peeps. So I got 4 images here. I got a liberty, Lady Liberty. I got a John Hancock for my signature. I got a torch here to kind of symbolize our organization, and then I have my issuer for We the People. So those are just images that we'll be using in our certificate a little bit later on, but just wanted to show you that I preloaded those here for our organization, project, signer, and issuer. So when we see those later, we'll know where they came from. Okay, so now we've gotten our anchor created, we've gotten our images kind of loaded up. The next thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to come up over here to our menu, and then we're going to go down and we're going to create our issuer. So when we create an issuer, here I have SIMBA as an issuer that we've already created, and that was for an organization for one that we'd already issued. But we're going to go ahead and do a new one. And so here we'll go ahead and fill out all of this information. So the issuer is going to issue a badge and certificate. You must be an issuer in terms of Block Cert version 2. So it has certain requirements. So you have to have a publicly available profile. That publicly available profile should be accessible via HTTP without the need for authentication, and it's going to be used during the validation. The profile needs to be in a JSON LD document, and that's going to define the issuer's identity, including the Ethereum address that's used to verify the signing. And so you can look at our documentation to get an example of what that ID might look like. So I'm going to go ahead and load this document up, and then we'll talk about what we have here. Okay, so I have my Liberty Torch with my email preloaded here. I got my main URL. I got my intro URL. I've put in my unique identifier that's pointing to that JSON document we talked about before. If we had a revocation list for anything that would be issued or any certificates that would be issued, we'd have that there. And then we'd have our public key and private key. And then the image that we want to use would be the image for our Liberty Torch image that we had already preloaded earlier. So we're going to go ahead and put that in there. And then we'll go ahead and save this. And then when we save it, it'll go ahead and generate that new issuer. So now we have that Liberty Torch issuer. And so the next step, so now we have that Liberty Torch here, and we've defined that, and there we can see kind of that image that we've created earlier. So next, what we're ready to do is we're ready to go ahead and generate our project. And so, but before we actually do that, we also need to have a signer. So we're going to go ahead and generate a signer, and that's going to be our John Hancock signer. We had Hal Finney that was signing our Bitcoin project earlier, but this time we're going to be creating our Liberty project. So we'll go ahead and put John Hancock in here, and we'll just put that as our Hancock. And we already uploaded a picture of that image, and so we'll go ahead and put that in as a signer. So now we have our John Hancock signature there that we've put in. And the next thing that we're ready to do is we're ready to go ahead and generate a project. And so when we come in here to our project, here we'll see that we had a project earlier where Hal Finney was teaching our BTC practitioner course. Hats off to the late Hal Finney. Of course, he's passed away, but that was a fun example that we did in-house. And so here we'll go ahead and do a new one for a new project, and this will be our Liberty project. And we're putting this on our ETH chain, or our Ethereum chain. And so we'll just put this in as our Liberty project. And then when the display of this certificate is issued, we'll just say that this is a self-sovereign right, and so now you've gained your Liberty, and we'll just call this Liberty cert, Liberty badge. There we go. And so now the certificate type, as we said earlier, we're going to conform to that Block Search version 2. The issuer will be that Liberty Torch issuer that we had created, and then we're going to go ahead and put in our signer, our John Hancock signer. the image that we might want to use for our certificate, as I'm going to go ahead and put our Lady Liberty image in there, and whether I want that to be hashed or not. And I'll go ahead and save this project. All right, so what we're going to do is after we've gone in and we've created our project, so when we go into our project in our menu, of course down here, the big plus down there, that'll allow us to create that project. So we've created our Liberty project, and again, when we define that project, we have to define all of these attributes, such as the chain name, its description, display, narrative, certificate type, organization, issuer, signer, and the image that we want to have associated with it. And then we can go ahead and submit that. And then once that's done, then we'll have our project created. And then within the project, and let's go back out to our project here. And from within our project, we'll be able to go in the project itself once it's created. And we can link our recipients and then issue those certificates. So the recipients, when we go off to our menu, we can define the individual recipients, and so we'll do that based on their UID and their Ethereum address. It'll be their public key address, and then we will link those and then issue out their certificate. So I've already created a user ID for myself and Paul Revere. Once we link them, then we can go ahead and issue out their certificate. So we did that. And then when we come in here and look at the certificates, we'll be able to see the certificates that just got issued. So let's go up here to our menu and look at our certificates. And we'll see the certificates here for Paul Revere and Tommy Cooksey, issued today at 10:46 p.m., which was, just a couple of minutes ago. And so that's UTC's time, I believe, and that's what time it is there. So when I go in and actually look at the certificate itself, let's just go ahead and render that. We can actually see here's kind of all of our information that we put in place, and then if we go ahead and look at the metadata, we'll be able to see that, of course, that drives the certificate. So hope you enjoyed this demo. And I think this will be a nice tool for everyone to be able to now have kind of provenance that can be backed by those digital signatures that we, of course, have validity on where those are derived from. So we can digitally sign something. So I can sign something and say, yes, this meets a certain level of criteria. And we can do that digitally and then prove it on a blockchain. So here's the tooling that allows you to do that. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the demo today. Hope you're having a great day, and please let us know if there's anything that we can do to improve our services. Thanks. Take care.